The first thing I heard through the vent was my brother asking whether my son would eventually call him Dad. I was standing on a small ladder in Ben's bedroom with a screwdriver in one hand and a new return air grill in the other. The old grill had been whistling for weeks. Every night Ben complained that the wall sounded like someone breathing. I had promised to fix it before his school science night. The home office was directly below his room. Our house was built in 1978 and the return duct carried voices better than it carried air. My brother Dylan said he already listens to me more than he listens to Caleb. My wife Mara answered, "Do not bring Ben into this. You are bringing him into it when you file." I said I want this clean. It will be clean. The refinance closes Hartline's line of credit, gets paid down, you file, and we move the accounts to Northline before Caleb understands what happened. There was a pause. Then Mara said, "I am not taking his company. You are taking your half of what you helped build. And you said Northline would be ours." "It will be." I stopped breathing for a few seconds. No, not because the affair surprised me. I did not yet know whether there was an affair. The words that stopped me were move the accounts. Hartline Mechanical had 14 employees, 11 service vans, 2 equipment loans, and a payroll that had to clear every other Friday. My house was part of the collateral package for the refinance. My brother was talking about my marriage, my son, my company, and my house, as if they were parts laid out on a workbench. Dylan continued. 6 more weeks. Get through the bank review. Once the money hits, she cannot claim you sabotaged anything. Mara lowered her voice. What about his mother? She owns nothing. She gets distributions. Then she gets distributions until she does not. I looked down at the floor. My mother had depended on quarterly payments from the company since my father died. She used that money for property tax medication and the assisted living deposit she kept saying she did not need yet. Dylan knew that. He had helped me calculate it. Ben's door opened behind me. He was 9 years old, thin, serious, and carrying the cardboard bridge he had built for science night. "Oh, wow. Dad, is it fixed?" I stepped down from the ladder. "Almost." He looked at the vent. "Why are you whispering?" I did not realize I was. He held up the bridge. "Uncle Dylan says the center support is wrong. The bridge had 3 popsicle stick trusses and too much glue. I said the center support is fine. We can test it after dinner." Ben nodded. Then he asked, "Are you moving out after Christmas?" I did not answer quickly enough. He watched my face change. "Who told you that?" He shrugged. "Nobody exactly." That was the moment the conversation through the vent became more than a marriage problem. "My name is Caleb Hart. I was 38 years old when I learned that 2 people can agree to betray you without agreeing on what happens after you are gone. Mara and I had been married for 12 years. We met at a community college business class when I was 24 and she was 22. I was working full-time for my father's heating and cooling company and taking night classes because he said knowing how to repair a compressor was not the same as knowing how to keep a business alive. Mara was studying accounting. She corrected the professor twice in our first class. I thought she was rude. She thought I was staring. My father's company had 1 truck, a rented garage bay, and a phone number painted by hand on the door. When he had a heart attack at 59, I left school for a semester and took over the field schedule. Mara helped organize invoices at our kitchen table. She found unpaid accounts. She changed the way we ordered parts. She convinced my father to stop accepting 90-day payment terms from contractors who paid everyone else first. Hartline Mechanical did not become large. It became stable. By the time Ben was born, we had 6 technicians. By the time my father died, we had 14 employees and enough recurring maintenance contracts to survive a bad winter. Mara was part of that. I never told people she helped with the books. She ran finance and administration. She knew the company better than most owners knew their own. That was why what I heard through the vent frightened me more than a confession of love would have. Mara understood exactly how the refinance, the credit line, and the customer deposits worked. Dylan was my younger brother by 3 years. He had always been better with people. I could walk into a mechanical room, hear a vibration, and tell which bearing was failing. Dylan could walk into a restaurant, talk to the owner for 10 minutes, and leave with a service contract. Our father trusted me with equipment. He trusted Dylan with strangers. That difference followed us into adulthood. Dylan worked in car sales, then commercial insurance, then a roofing company. Every job ended with a reason the manager had failed to recognize his value. When my father got sick, Dylan came back to help. At first, it was temporary. Then he brought in 2 large accounts. Then 5. My father gave him a sales title and a commission structure. He did not give him ownership. Dylan never forgot that. After our father died, I offered him a path to buy 10% of the company over 5 years. He agreed, made payments for 11 months, then stopped after a divorce left him with legal bills. I did not cancel the agreement. I paused it. Dylan said he appreciated that. Later, I learned he heard something else. He heard that I could decide whether he belonged. The marriage did not fail all at once. Mara and I became efficient. We talked about payroll, Ben's, school service callbacks, groceries, and whether the van insurance had renewed. We rarely talked about fear. She asked me for 3 years to hire an operations manager. I said we could not afford it. Then I worked 60-hour weeks because we did not have one. I missed 2 of Ben's school events. I left a family vacation early when a grocery store freezer system failed. I had 1 panic attack in a supply house parking lot and told Mara it was food poisoning. She found the anti-anxiety prescription in my truck. She asked why I had not told her. I said I did not want to make it another thing she had to manage. She said that is exactly the problem. You decide what I am allowed to carry. I loved her. I also treated love like a roof. If the bills were paid and nothing collapsed, I believed the structure was sound. Dylan began spending more time at our house after his divorce. He ate dinner with us. He helped Ben practice baseball. He and Mara stayed late in the home office reviewing sales reports and customer renewals. I was often in the field. It did not look suspicious. It looked like family helping a family business. After hearing them through the vent, I finished installing the grill. I tested Ben's bridge with a stack of paperback books. It held 9. He wanted 10. We added another support. I did not ask him again about moving out. Not that night. I waited until he was asleep. Then I went to the garage and sat in my truck with the doors locked. I wrote down every sentence I could remember. Not because I thought notes would prove an affair, because shock changes memory. I knew how often customers described a machine failure differently after they had stared at the damage for an hour. At 10:43 p.m., I emailed the notes to a new account. At 10:51, I searched for family law attorneys in another county. At 11:20, I searched for forensic accountants. At midnight, Mara opened the garage door. She wore sweatpants and one of my old company shirts. Are you sleeping out here? Checking tomorrow's schedule. You have an office. Dylan is using it. She looked at me for 1 second too long. Then she said the bank wants updated receivables by Friday. Oh, I know. Did you fix Ben's vent? Yes. She smiled. Good. That sound was driving him crazy. I watched her walk back inside. She had no idea the vent had worked perfectly. The next morning, I called an attorney named Priya Shah. Her receptionist asked whether there was an emergency. I said I do not know yet. Priya met me at 7 the following morning before her office opened. I told her about the conversation, the planned refinance, the company, the house my mother's distributions, and Ben's question. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she asked, "What do you want to protect first?" "My son." "Good. Second, the employees. Third, the company and the marriage." I looked at the floor. I do not know what is left of it. Priya said, "Do not confront either of them. Do not secretly record conversations unless we confirm the law. Do not remove Mara from household money. Do not change locks. Do not threaten Dylan's job. And do not sign the refinance. The bank closing is in 6 weeks. Then you have 6 weeks to understand what they mean by move the accounts." She referred me to Gavin Lowe, a forensic accountant, who mostly handled small business divorces and partner disputes. Gavin was 60, impatient, and more interested in bank permissions than feelings. He asked who could initiate transfers. Mara and me. Who can approve? Either of us under 25,000, both above that. Who controls customer software? Maramy, Dylan, and Rosa, our bookkeeper. Who owns Northline? I do not know. Find out legally. Public records first. Northline Facility Solutions had been registered 4 months earlier. Its address was a mailbox store. Its listed organizer was Dylan Hart. The company description was commercial maintenance consulting. Dylan had never mentioned it. Gavin asked for 2 years of statements, vendor lists, customer aging reports, payroll records, and user access logs. I had legitimate access to all of them. The first unusual item appeared 3 days later. Hartline had paid Northline Facility Solutions 8 invoices. The amounts were small enough to avoid dual approval. $4,800, $6,200, $3,900. Each invoice described lead generation, customer retention consulting, or emergency subcontract coordination. The total was $41,600. Mara had approved 6. Rosa had entered 2 after receiving approval emails from Dylan. I stared at the spreadsheet. I wanted the number to become reasonable if I looked at it long enough. It did not. Gavin said, "Do not assume Mara knows what Northline is." She approved it. She may know part. We separate facts from conclusions. That sentence became important later. At home, Mara acted normal. She asked whether I wanted tacos. She reminded me Ben needed poster board. She put her cold feet under my leg while we watched television. I had spent 12 years learning the small habits of her body. Now every familiar movement felt like a test I had not studied for. Dylan came by Sunday afternoon with a new baseball glove for Ben. He walked into the kitchen and took coffee without asking. He told me a restaurant group wanted a proposal. I said, "Send me the contact. I can handle it. I want to review capacity before we promise service times." His smile tightened. "You have to touch everything." Mara said, "Caleb is just being careful." Dylan looked at her. "Oh." The glance lasted less than a second. I still saw it. That night, Ben asked why Uncle Dylan might move into a house with a pool. I said, "Did he say he was moving?" He said maybe all of us would have more room. "All of who?" Ben pushed a toy car along the table. He said it was just an idea. I kept my voice calm. "Has Mom talked to you about anyone moving?" "No." "Has Uncle Dylan told you not to tell me things?" Ben stopped the car. He said grown-up plans can get messed up if people talk too early. I felt anger rise in my throat. I swallowed it. "You will never be in trouble for telling me something that worries you, even if it is a surprise. Especially then." The next day, I scheduled Ben with the school counselor. I did not tell her about the affair or the financial plan. I said he had asked questions about moving and seemed anxious. She agreed to check in with him. I also began keeping a parenting calendar. School pickups, homework, doctor visits, baseball practice. Not to perform fatherhood for court. To stop relying on memory if Mara later claimed I had never been there. The calendar showed something uncomfortable. I had been there less than I thought. I paid for everything. I answered emergency calls. I fixed the house. But Mara had attended more school events, more dentist appointments, and nearly every parent conference. That did not justify what she was doing. It did explain why Dylan's comment about Ben listening to him had hurt. Priya told me, "Use the information to change your behavior, not manufacture a record." So I changed it. I moved 2 service calls to another technician and attended science night. Ben's bridge held 12 books. Dylan did not come. Mara watched me across the classroom. For a moment, she looked relieved. Then guilty. I could not tell which feeling came first. The refinance meeting was scheduled for the 2nd Monday in December. The loan would replace our business credit line, pay off 2 vehicle notes, and pull $120,000 from the house. Mara had presented it as a way to reduce monthly payments and build a cash reserve. On paper, the plan was not reckless. The interest rate was lower. The company had enough equity. The house had appreciated. The problem was not the loan. The problem was what Dylan planned to do after it closed. Gavin found that Northline had opened a business account at the same credit union where Dylan financed his truck. Public filings showed only Dylan as owner. No Mara. No shared company. No future amendment. Nothing connected her to Northline except the Hartline invoices she had approved. I asked Gavin, could there be another agreement? There could be 10 agreements in a drawer. I can only tell you what has been filed and what the bank records show. The fact that Mara was not listed should have made me feel better. It did not. It meant one of two things. Either she knew Northline belonged only to Dylan and still planned to help him move customers, or she believed she was joining a company Dylan had never intended to share. I did not know which betrayal was worse. Rosa Mendoza had worked for Hartline for 7 years. She was 54, careful and unimpressed by family drama. She kept a paper calculator beside her keyboard, even though every number already existed in software. I asked her to meet me at a diner near the highway. I told her Gavin was reviewing vendor controls for the refinance. That was true. I asked about Northline. Rosa looked down at her coffee. Dylan said it was his consulting arrangement. What consulting? Lead lists. Service route planning. A few introductions. Did you see work product? Not much. Why did you enter the invoices? Mara approved them. Her answer sounded defensive. I said, I am not accusing you. You are asking in a diner instead of the office. That is fair. She folded the paper wrapper from her straw into a narrow strip. 2 invoices had the same attachment, she said. Same customer list, different month. Did you tell anyone? I asked Mara whether it was a duplicate. She said Dylan had updated the list. Was it updated? Not that I could see. Why did you process it? Rosa looked at me. Because your wife was my supervisor, and your brother was the owner's brother. Families make employees feel stupid for noticing things. The sentence embarrassed me. I had always told employees to speak up. I had never built a process that made it safe when the concern involved my family. Rosa had saved copies of the duplicate attachments in a folder marked pending verification. She also had emails where Dylan told her not to bother me because I was overloaded. One message said, Caleb wants details on everything. Let us keep this simple until the refinance is done. I asked Rosa not to discuss the review. She said, are we in trouble? I do not know. Will payroll clear? Yes. That was the first promise I made that week and the one I was most afraid of breaking. The next twist came from the customer database. Our system tracked exports. Dylan had downloaded the complete commercial client list 3 times in 4 months. Sales employees exported reports often. What made his exports different was the content. Contacts, pricing history, equipment ages, contract renewal dates, service complaints. It was everything a competing company would need to approach clients at the right moment. One export occurred at 2:13 a.m. Dylan had been staying at our house that night. I remembered because Ben had been sick and Mara had slept in his room. Dylan told me he was finishing a proposal. Gavin said, you need business counsel in addition to divorce counsel. Priya referred me to a commercial attorney named Samuel Ortiz. Samuel reviewed the employment agreement Dylan had signed. It contained confidentiality and non-solicitation terms, but our state's rules were narrow and fact-specific. Samuel did not promise an injunction. He said the strongest protection is operational. Change access based on documented risk, not family anger. We created a plan. The bank would be notified that Hartline needed additional review before closing. The refinance would be postponed, not dramatically canceled. Transfers to new vendors would require 2 approvals. Customer exports would be restricted to me and Rosa. Dylan would retain enough access to do his current job until we had formal grounds to suspend him. Mara would keep access to household funds and ordinary company work, but not unilateral transfers. I hated every part of it. The controls were reasonable. They were also the first visible sign that I knew something. Before we implemented them, I found a message on the family tablet. The tablet sat in the kitchen and was used for recipes, school forms, and streaming. It was still signed into Mara's email. A notification appeared from Dylan. Stop pushing the pool house with Ben. He repeated it. I did not open the email account. The notification showed enough. Mara knew Dylan had spoken to Ben. She had told him to stop. That mattered. She was not protecting me, but she was not comfortable using our son the way Dylan was. For the first time, I saw a crack between them. 2 nights later, Mara asked whether I had told the bank to delay closing. We were at the kitchen table. Ben was upstairs. Yes. Why, the vendor review is incomplete. What vendor review? Northline. Her face changed so quickly that I knew the name was not a surprise. She recovered. Dylan's consulting company. You know he owns it. He told me. What did he tell you it does? Brings in accounts. Builds an outside sales channel. Why does Hart Line pay an outside sales channel owned by an employee who already receives salary and commission? Mara looked toward the stairs. Keep your voice down. I am speaking normally. You sound like you are cross-examining me. I am asking why $41,000 went to my brother's company. Our company. You are not listed anywhere. Oh, she went still. What? Northline belongs to Dylan. He said the operating agreement was being drafted. There is no filing connecting you to it. Not everything is filed immediately. That is what I told the accountant. She looked at me. You hired an accountant without telling me. An independent review was required before I signed a loan using our house. You do not trust me. I almost laughed. Instead, I said, should I? Mara stood. This is exactly what I mean. You make decisions alone, then reveal them when everyone else is already cornered. You and Dylan planned my divorce through a vent. Her hand tightened around the chair. For several seconds, neither of us moved. Then she whispered, How much did you hear? Enough. She sat down again. I had imagined this confrontation many times. In some versions, she denied everything. In others, she cried. What she did was ask, did Ben hear? No. Her shoulders dropped. That reaction told me more about her than any apology could have. I said he knows something. Dylan has been telling him about a house with a pool. I told Dylan to stop. After he started, I did not know he had said anything. Are you sleeping with him? She looked at the table. Yes, the word was quiet. There was no speech about loneliness. No claim that it happened once. No demand that I understand. I asked, How long? 7 months.